This video is covering the direct deposit feature and the new enhancements that's been made in the People's Choice Accounting Desktop or People's Choice Accounting Online version 10. For taking advantage of the direct deposit feature in the payroll, it's a part of the payroll system. It's not an add-on module or anything, but you would need to be working with your bank to process the Notcha file or ACH file that is a standardized format for doing direct deposit. So what you'll need to do is go into setup, and you'll need to go into the direct deposit tab in the setup, and you'll need to get the routing number, the bank name, the name of your company, this DFI, which is usually just the routing number minus the last digit. Whether the bank wants a balanced ACH file, most of them don't, but if they do, then you would check this box. Just leave the PPD as the class code, and then this would contain your bank account number from which the payroll payments are made out of. So it's pulling and putting into your employee's bank account from this bank account. As you know, in People's Choice, we have three different computer or check numbers, for one for computer, manual, and other. Normally this is set to other. When you implement direct deposit, not every employee has to be on direct deposit. Those who are not set up for direct deposit are still going to be defaulting to a computer check, or you could default them to a manual check, but most are going to be printing them to a computer check. So we've set this up for other. So that gives you the basic setup for the direct deposit. So what you need to do regarding the employee, you would go into the employee, and in this case, I've only set this up for one of the employees. I'd have done better. And what you do is you check the box here. If you see like an Amanda Hug and Kiss and go to the miscellaneous tab, there's nothing here, but if you check this box, it opens up the window to put in the banking information. So when you're on the I'd have done better, whoever your employee is, we've set up here 3. You can do up to 6 bank accounts. The first one is your default bank account. So if you don't have more than one bank account, the net check is going to default to this bank account. But if your employees would like to have their net check split into different bank accounts, and again, I want to emphasize the net check. These aren't deductions. These would be net check, and I'll show you how it appears on their pay stub when they do a direct deposit. So we have 3 different actually the same bank for the default, and another savings account at that bank. And then they have another bank that they have a savings account. And so for our purposes, we're splitting it into 3 bank accounts for this one employee. So once that's set up, you're ready to do the direct deposit. You would go into process payroll, you go into run a payroll, you would click next pay run like you normally do. This is set up for a weekly, and we would go into enter pay data, put in the hours. The only one is I'd have done better. It's getting the direct deposit. So you still calculate and process payroll like you normally are used to doing. You can still look at the calc report and review everything. All the information is correct. But when you go to create the checks, we're not going to make a backup. It's going to bring this up. So anybody that's not on direct deposit, it's going to be a computer check and the starting number of 5081. And for anybody that's on a direct deposit, it's going to use the other check number sequence, and it's going to be, in this case, 10. Now, in this particular example, we only have one of the employees that's doing direct deposit. So when we go to create checks and look at run the reports, we can actually see from the calc report that these are the computer check numbers. When you look at I'd have done better, it's 11. And then this is, so there's only one direct deposit, and it happens to be I'd have done better. So all these other employees, you would proceed to go ahead and print the checks, and it's going to print those checks correctly. But as far as printing, we just we go back to run reports for the direct deposit individual, we click print pay stubs. Like I said, we only had one set up in this, but so this is what would be given to this employee since they don't get a check, and so their net check was $450, but the net amount was split into 3 different accounts, and it's displaying the last 4 digits of the account number for each of the banks that this is deposited into. And then the pay stub is just like a normal pay stub that you have when you print a computer check, and all the information that you can also print on the stub doesn't change. So this is exactly the same pay stub as if they'd have printed a check. So that's how you set up a direct deposit, both for the basic company setup, the employee setup, and how you actually generate the actual direct deposit. Now, a couple of options that you have is when you are doing, sometimes you want to do a check run where you don't want a direct deposit. So for those, you would check this box, and then everybody's going to default to a computer check. Also, sometimes and this feature can be used whether it's direct deposit or not, but you want to create a check like maybe a Christmas bonus, but you don't want to have it deduct the deductions that are set up. So you could select all, and if you could do the same thing for any of the benefits that you've set up. And so when you do that and go to process a check, and I'll just click like next pay run, and when you go to calculate, it's going to warn you that you actually have marked some of the deductions and benefits. In case you did it last week but didn't want to do it next week, it's reminding you, oh, I didn't want to do that this week. So what you would do at that point is then go back into here and uncheck these, unselect or whatever ones that you had selected, unselect, and now you can go back and do the normal calculation, and it's going to calculate the deductions. So those are some of the flexibilities that you can work around in terms of when you don't want to print direct deposit. So once you've created the direct deposit, then it's got the process for creating the file that you're going to upload to the bank. So you would go to direct deposit. You can see we have one that we haven't created. Now, depending on your bank, most banks have you use the tax ID in the setup. So what you would do is you would check this if they want a 1 put in front of it. A large number of banks like to have the 1 in front of it. If they don't want that, so that's just something you ask your bank, you would uncheck it. But we're going to go ahead and create the file. So we'll create this box, create the file. And so now it's created the file to be exported that could be uploaded to the bank. To do that, you would go into direct deposit, go into ACH files, and you can see last week we did our first ACH in this one. So here we're going to click here. We're going to name, typically you'll put in a date here, but I'll just call it test 2. And so this is designed to where we've set up a folder on our C drive called ACH files, and we're going to export those. So once we do that, then we just click done. And so that file is now in that. If you wanted to quickly see that, if you went to here and did a browse, you can see the different files that have been, let me see here, be in this ACH folder, but it could be any folder you have. I just happen to have it set up for H, and you can see the the text. And if you wanted to see what that actually looks like, you can open up in Notepad and open. And this is what you would call the notcha format. This line, so this is actually the bank account number, the amount that's being, and who it's for. We only had one employee, but so you could see this is the standardized format that the Federal Reserve requires. It's called the notcha format. So you would also probably, when you submit this to the bank, go to reports, and you would pull up their report and You go ahead and print or print preview, and you can see it's three different deposits, but they're for the same employee, in which you can see 455, 25, and 25, like was shown on the stub. And since we didn't do a balance file, we're only seeing the credit amount that's being submitted. And so once this is uploaded to your bank, typically it's done through internet banking, although we do have some users who will write this file to a thumb drive and take the thumb drive to the bank and give it to them in person. So that particular step of how you get this ACH file to the bank and what service fees they may apply to process this file is something you'll need to talk to regarding the bank. But that was a quick overview of the setup and the processing of direct deposit in the new People's Choice Accounting Desktop version 10.